Hey guys, Backyard Scrapping here, and welcome to part 9 of our silver contact and filament refine. I actually got the stuff melted off before I went in. I know I said in the end of the video I was going to go in, but I did stay out here. Oh, looky here. Hi girls. There's our little family of deer out there. Anyway, I did get the stuff done. In just a minute I'll show you what our solid melt ended up as and how much we lost, and then we're going to go ahead and get that stuff started and get it refined. So we'll be back at you in just a bit. Okay guys, we have melted all the powder that was in here. This is the silver that was melted. This is the silver he attempted to melt, and the reason he had such a hard time melting this, well, I really nitricked up my fingers, didn't I, is because of the impurities. Whenever you see, this was the last one, and I really laid the borax to it and swirled it around a lot, and you can see it's fairly smooth on the top. Whenever you see this, what I call like frog skin, where it bubbles up and boils up and it's not smooth or uniform, that is because the silver is not pure. There are some impurities in there. I even gathered the dish silver, what was left on the edges, so to get an accurate amount. I am actually going to throw this in a filter real quick and strain it off. You're going to be amazed that I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know if it's a silica or if it's whatever. It's very hot. When it hits the water, sometimes it even just pops and explodes. It's like almost like a molten glass. But anyway, I'm going to show you just how much of that was in here before we weigh this, because now we know this was 175.82 grams. So I am actually I'm going to throw it on the little scale out here. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm actually going to go inside and weigh it on the same scale, because I know that's what we got, so it'll be accurate. And then in the meantime, I'll be filtering that off while I go do that. So let me go inside, take this inside real quick and get it weighed and see exactly what we lost by melting it, which I know we lost a tiny fraction of silver that vaporized, but also a lot of those impurities vaporized, and we poured off a lot into this little pot here. So let me do that right quick and I'll be right back at you. Okay guys, we're inside. I'm going to go ahead and turn my scale on. We know we had 175.82 before we started melting it. You can actually see what I'm talking about in here, that frog skin. It's all warty looking and nasty looking, except for this one. Like I said, in that one I just laid the borax to it at the very end. There is a little bit of borax on this stuff because I'm not going to bother to clean it off. But let's just see what we lost from that. It's almost like a flux. I don't know. It acts like a flux. I don't know what it is, but let's just throw these on here real quick and see what we've lost already. Just in that. You're going to be surprised when we get out there and check that filter of how much junk, and it makes the silver. That's why he had a hard time melting it, because that stuff actually makes it harder to melt. Look at this. Look at this right off the bat, and there's our cleanup piece. 127.81 grams just by melting that flux crap off of it. So we had 127.8. Let me jot this down. 175.82 and 127.81. Okay, that's amazing. And people don't realize, they think they have pure silver. No, you don't. You have to clean it. So 175.82 minus 127.81. We have already lost 51 grams of silver. That's an ounce and a half from that powder to this. So that tells you just how impure that was, and we haven't put it in acid yet and re-refined it yet. So guys, you got to get your silver. No, that's the worst, and that's just because it was a chloride drop. Your silver needs to look like this, at worst like this, and even that has been cleaned up. You saw that this stuff was probably 2 to 3 times darker than even this. We're going to go outside and check that filter out now, and I'll show you just how much crap came off of this stuff. Okay guys, we're back outside. I just wanted to show you that I have put the pieces that I melted plus his pieces he attempted to melt in a beaker. I got about 300 mils of distilled water in there, and I'm going to let it warm up a little bit, and then we're going to gradually start adding nitric acid to that, and we're going to dissolve these off and redrop that silver and get it nice and clean and pure. This is still draining, but as you can see, there is a ton of crap in there. Now give me just a second, and I'm going to take that filter out of there. I'm going to lay it out on this paper towel and open it up. There is a fraction of an amount of silver in there, but there is no 50 grams of silver in there. Trust me. This is just basically that glass looking stuff. If there's a gram or maybe even 2 grams of silver in there, I would be surprised. I don't believe there's even that much. But anyway, let me get it spread out on this paper towel and we'll take a look at it. Okay guys, there it is. Like I said, it's a glassy type material. Almost like a flux would be, but see, it just crumbles up. And that is what came off of melting that. That's what you saw me in the very beginning when I was pouring that crap out of the crucible into the water and it was popping. That's it. And this is why I didn't film the whole thing, because you got to be really careful. This stuff will go blowing out everywhere if you're not careful. You got to wait till it almost sets up on top of the silver again and then pour it off just before it gets hard again. And then you got to heat it up and keep doing that. So it would have been a long, I mean, it actually took me a couple hours to do all this. But that is the junk that came out of that. I know it's unbelievable, but there it is. I'm not going to mess with it. I will send it back to him if he wants it. You could probably, like I said, leach a gram or 2 of silver out of this, but it's going to be messy. And I mean, if you got a gram out of it, it's $1. I really don't know. I mean, and I preach, you know, get everything you can when you can, but some things you just got to let go. I mean, and this is just probably one of those things. There's just not enough there. The nitric acid's going to cost you more money than the silver's in there. So, alrighty, I just wanted to show you that, guys. Like I said, we're going to get this heated up, and I'm going to start adding acid to it. I'm not going to put you through all that. I may pop in once or something and show you how it's going, but other than that, we're not going to mess with it. Our last little drop here is nearly done. We are getting the last little bits of silver out of that. This will be settled. This is settled for tomorrow. I can siphon those off and work on those, getting them acid washed and dried. And then that's our first bit of aqua regia. The other one is actually out there on the table, which this is from the or the barrel, I mean. This is actually from our contacts and filter papers. So I'm going to leave these 2 sit up here to settle for the night again more, and then we're going to try and filter all that crap off of them. This one actually looks promising. I hope, it looks like there may be something in there. This one, I'm not so sure about, but we're going to test them both anyway and make sure that there's nothing else in them, any gold or palladium or anything like that. Alrighty guys, we'll get back at you in a little bit when we start dissolving that stuff. So I'm actually going to sit down and take a break for a minute, so we'll see you in a bit. Well guys, I can already see that I actually should have finished melting his material. I just added some nitric acid, and this is why I wanted to melt off that powder, because I knew this junk was in it, and evidently that is what is causing that white, almost it looks like a chloride, which that probably ends up being our gray jello material. I should have done it. I thought they were melted enough not to have that, but now we're going to have another hard filter on our hands. You can see that it is definitely coming off of those, off of that stuff that, you know, he tried to melt. Oh well, from now on I think I'm just going to melt and burn everything. I think that's going to be the way to go, because this is going to be a bummer to filter again. That's why I melted all that powder, because I didn't want this going in the solution and creating a mess like that. And there we go. So anyway, I'm just going to let this go. It'll probably go throughout the night. And I'll just keep adding a little bit of nitric to it as I go along. And it's going to be another 2-day filter job. Well, good morning, guys. Our last 2 batches are finished and dried of the filaments. This was our biggest one, and this was our smallest one. I've already done our division for our first batch that we did the other day, but I'm going to review it real quick. Batch 1 of the filaments yielded 96.9%, which was pretty good. Batch 2, which is this one, it was 537 on the bag, 537 grams on the bag, but I did screen off about 24 grams of dust, and there was the 9.2 grams of sludge. So our adjusted starting weight was 503.8. The yield was 432.82, which was 85.9%. That's the one that had most of those tungsten looking filaments in it. So total loss on that one was about 71 grams, but we still ended up with 85.9%. This was that little bag, that 41.53 gram bag of filaments that had some lead on them. That ended up yielding 94.6%. We started with 41.53, and we lost 2.23 grams, which was great. Our push silver was very minimal. We only got about 3 grams, which is about 0.5%. Where on the contacts, we ended up actually getting about 2% of the push silver. But this was very minimal because these were so pure. It dropped out really well. There was just a little bit of stuff left. So our total yield for the filaments was 707.66 grams, of which 25% of that will be mine. Our total yield completely was 2,805.15 grams, which was a total yield of about 85%, which was pretty good, considering, we had tungsten that we didn't, I usually don't count those, but we counted them. We had a lot of those filaments out there that looked like tungsten strips that were plated. So that is a really good yield, considering the amount of tungsten we had and sludge and crap that was left over. I will get 701 grams of that, and Stephen will get 2,104 grams. So that wraps up this filament and contact refine. I still need to take my cut out of these two. That's his. Most of this is going to be his, and that's mine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right quick. I am actually working on his test right now, which is completely separate, where he had dropped some of that silver in a chloride. You've already seen that there was a lot of that glassy, I don't even know what you call it, waste in there. I mean, even before we got started. And we're going to pour one 5-ounce bar for him, And he's taking the rest back in powder, guys, because he got himself a furnace and he's going to do his own pouring. So that's pretty cool. So I am going to do one small 5-ounce bar. And then we're going to wrap this up. I think I'm going to just, if this video runs a little bit long, it's going to run a little bit long, but there's no point in doing another video for all that. I have to check that second batch of Aqua Regia, and then we're going to pour his bar. And we will wrap this refine up. So we'll be back at you when we get outside. Okay, guys, this is the silver nitrate from his test. As you can see, by melting that stuff off first, I only had to deal with a little bit of crap from his, but look at how clear. That could actually be used to start your silver cell, because when silver nitrate is that clear, it is pure. So I am going to go ahead and put a coil in this and start dropping the silver so we know what our test is going to be. And you can't even hardly see it, so white. This is our waste. We've got that stuff. This was the stuff that came out of the Aqua Regia that didn't dissolve. That's that glassy stuff. This is just filter papers and junk. That's our leftover tungsten from the tungsten contacts. And then this is a bunch of that stuff that I sieved off before we started doing that second batch to try and do away with that. So that's our waste. Except for the paper, most of that will be going in the trash. This is the neatest the bench area has looked in months. And that is our Aqua Regia, which I am fixing to warm up and test right now. So that's where we're at. I'm not going to waste too much time here because I am going to pour a 5-ounce bar out of this, and the rest is going back as powder. So I want to have enough time in this video for that. Okay, guys, we are going to get our mold set. Turn this off. I didn't heat it cherry red because it's not really necessary, but it just needs to be hot. Ebony's down here mouthing off. I got to kick her out of here. All right, Ebony, go on. So here we go. And there is our little bar. Hopefully I guesstimated enough with the loss to get a 5-ouncer. We are still pretty red, so I'm going to let it go for another second. And we're going to dump it out. The quenching pot's behind the camera, so all you're going to be able to do is hear it, along with Ebony's big mouth. There's that. And there we go. So we'll get it inside and get it cleaned up a bit. In fact, I think I'll go ahead and throw it in the pickle pot out here. Let it clean up a little bit. And then we'll see you inside. Okay, everybody, we have made it to the end of this refine. I spared you all the marking of the bar because I actually wanted to take a second to explain this stuff. There is his powder. with my cut removed from it, ready to be shipped. So that's that stuff. And what I wanted to do here briefly is I want to kind of explain what we did here real quick. This was his test. Now this was his the self-refined silver that he tried to melt, which was exactly 100 grams in this bag. Didn't count the weight of the bag. And then this was his cement silver. From what I understand, he did a chloride drop. And earlier in a few videos back, I talked about drying your silver. I'm going to try and get a decent picture of this because I want to actually show it. You know, I'm going to put a thing up real quick, a side-by-side of the two. Before and after. But on the bag it said 245 grams. Well, this is, you know, I went through this before, but I'm going to do it again. So our silver powder, the drop bag was 245, and that was including the weight of the bag. So the actual silver that was in here was 238.9, but it was still wet. It was damp. So by the time we dried it out, we lost another 63.8 grams in water weight. So that left us with the 175.82 of the dried powder, because it was completely dry then. And then you got to make sure you do that. If you go to sell that to somebody and it's wet, I mean, they're not going to be pleased about that. And you're not. You're going to be quite disappointed. I mean, like if you send it to a refinery, you know, they're not going to pay you for that water, which is what I want to go over here real quick and then, you know, end out this series. But so we had 175.82 of dry weight, then we had the 100 grams of the stuff, and it was exactly 100 grams of the stuff that he tried to melt and couldn't get to melt, and that was probably because of the impurities. So we started the refine with 275.82 grams of the silver that he dropped and the silver that he dropped and tried to melt. It yielded 222.23, which was 80.5% pure. So I don't know whether that was from contacts, whether it was from filaments, or whether it was from both, but it's irrelevant. He wanted me to do this test for him to show, you know, how far off the purity was. But like I said, once I saw the color of that powder, you know, you knew it had impurities in it. And it had, I don't know where it comes from. I've seen that before, that liquidy, glassy, I don't know what it is or where it comes from. It's not the first time I've seen it, but I have seen it before. And it kind of sits on top of the silver when you're melting it. And you gotta kind of time it right to pour that crap off and get rid of it. But it is pretty dense, and you probably do pour off some minute particles of silver, but not that much. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to show that. I'll put some pictures of the bar up in there. You know, like I said, there's the bar in his bag of powder. He wanted a 5-ounce bar poured out of it. This is the test refine, so you know now, you know, go back and watch these videos and you know you have to clean your silver up. Just dropping it does not mean you have pure silver. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this series. I know it was a long one. I mean, some things couldn't be helped, you know, with everything that went on with my dad during this one. Hopefully now I can start getting back to normal and get caught up on some of these refines. I've got 2 more sitting behind me and some more on the way, so I've got to kind of get down on it. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you hanging in with me. I'm going to get his paper finish filled out over here, and we are going to get this stuff sent back to him. So again, I hope you enjoyed the series, and we will see you guys in the next video.